Alabama Crimson Tide win yet another damn game of football. Man, I am just as tired of Alabama as a good majority of you are, but there is literally nothing that I can do. The thing about it is one of the things that Chris Fowler said when he wasn't in the booth calling football games, he was actually doing College Game Day. One of the things he talked about was how it doesn't help their bottom line any that Alabama continues to dominate. And you have to understand how true of a statement that is. It gets boring, and I've said many a times it is bad for sports when Alabama, Clemson, and New England continue to dominate and nobody else is able to step up and take it away from them, which is their job, which is something that A&M could not do. Look, this is ultimately what makes Alabama a special program. You could talk about, Tua and the arm strength and getting out of situations and scrambling around and making plays and dropping dimes. You could talk about receivers getting open and finding spots and making plays. You could talk about the run game with Harris and him getting over 100 yards. You could talk about the defense creating turnovers or stopping them in big key situations. Or now you could talk about the special teams and how they consistently put their football team in good field position. Kickoffs, punt returns. But I think the average starting field position for Alabama was probably, the 40-yard line. At least it felt like it. And when you're already in that kind of a position to score and you have a potent offense like Alabama does, that's the name of the game, folks. That is the name of the game. Win, perform well in all facets, and do whatever it takes. The idea is to put up more points than the other guy. And over the last few years, really decade, only Clemson recently has been able to match Alabama, accomplish what they have, and even then they're still not even close to where Alabama is. Nobody's played the score more than you game than the Alabama Crimson Tide. Isn't it amazing that a few years ago they had one loss and people were just jumping the gun and criticizing Alabama, and they ended up playing and winning a national championship anyway? Was it back in 2010, somewhere in that neighborhood, they actually lost 2 games that season? People were talking about how bad that team is. You know how many teams? I'm a Syracuse fan. Forget how many teams. I'm a Syracuse fan, all right? I would love a season where we only lose 2 games back-to-back years. That would be phenomenal. If I could get an 11-2, a 12-2, if I could just see a college football playoff, that would be phenomenal. Meanwhile, you have the media talking about what a down year it was for Alabama. Like, are you kidding me, man? Jeez. I mean, literally, I think it was during the 1-loss year, maybe the 2-loss year, Nick Saban had to get up and say, I'm tired of hearing the criticism. That's how ridiculous it got. Now, can you find anything bad to say about him? Can you find anything bad to say about this football team? That's the question. Because right now, man, they are damn good. And I honestly don't know if there's a team out there in this country that is good enough to hang with them. We're hoping that LSU can. We're hoping that Auburn can. We're just hoping to see a good game of football, I think, is what we are really hoping for. I mean, at this juncture, we're just hoping that somebody plays these guys close. After the special teams performance from Alabama, you have to understand that this is possibly the most complete team in the country. Now, I will give it to A&M. There were a couple of times, 14-play drive that they had to start the game, start out 7-0. Physically, they were not too bad in the run game in some aspects, especially that touchdown on the goal line. I mean, how many times have you seen the Alabama Crimson Tide defensive line get pushed back? Kellen Mond, I thought, did what they could, what he could to stay in that football game. But ultimately, when all is said and done, Alabama was just too good at putting themselves in a situation to win the football game. Offensively and defensively, they basically did just enough to win the football game. Because, see, it's a great counterpunch, and it really wears on you mentally. Hey, man, we just scored a touchdown, but then Alabama has a good kick return. They get the football on the 45-yard line now, midfield, whatever it was. And you're going, how are we going to hold them? And they even did hold them inside the red zone. It's just Alabama keeps coming at you. They've been in these situations how many different times now? They've played against elite teams how many different times now? I don't like the regular season schedule at all, outside of conference, that is. I've been just as critical. But in the playoffs, who are they going against? The best of the best, allegedly, and they're dominating. No matter how you like it or not, or regardless of whether you like it or not, pardon me, you can't knock what they are accomplishing. It's just all there is to it. Guys, I am Drew Duncan, host of SINC 57. You can Google us, SINC 57 Sports. You can have us played on wherever you listen to podcasts. Simply tell your device to play SINC 57 by Drew Duncan. Additionally, you can find us on YouTube. That is SINC 57. We are wherever you listen to podcasts, and as always, don't you dare touch that dial.